life who are actually associated with NGO. And this particular unit or this particular introduction will help you to understand the NGO or a non-governmental organization environment and see how important their role is in our life or in the society. Like India is a democratic society. So what is their role in our democratic society? So before going to details of what exactly definition of NGO is, we should also understand what an NGO is. What is an NGO? See, if you're, as I said, you that if you are not part of an NGO already, you may have definitely met people working with the poor by offering educational services or health services, or and doing so many activities. As you all know, the society is not free with social issues. There are many social issues that are existing in the society, and NGOs play a very major role because they are working at the grassroots level. Okay, and they also give trainings to the people or the underprivileged people or the kind of work they are associated with. So these are most likely to the people who actually belong to an NGO. So can you think of some NGOs, like you must be knowing many NGOs that are functioning in Hyderabad and Telangana and all over the country as well. See, they will be providing as the ones providing services to the needy. For instance, you may have heard of NGOs or meeting the needs of people suffering because of poor health or the undernourishments or natural disasters like a cyclone, a drought, or a tsunami, etc., etc. So NGOs are the first to participate in all these activities and who are closer to the people, those who are suffering. Okay, so not always will NGOs will be involved in working with the downtrodden or the underprivileged. Some are very highly trained in offering specialized services. So some may be working on more professional services, like like in hospitals, like providing health services, like educational services, economic upliftment through small loans, other entrepreneur activities. So NGOs are also working in close association with the government. Now, but what is an NGO? Okay, what is an NGO? An NGO or a non-government organization is a private institution. By a kind consideration, it is a private institution, and as its name suggests, it is independent of the government. Okay, it is independent of the government. So NGOs essentially are considered as a non-profit making. They're non-profit making institutions, and they are purely service-oriented organization which are committed to the development and welfare of the community. Okay, that's what the NGOs are all about, and I think everybody knows about what NGO is. NGOs are like I think most of them are also associated with NGOs, or some must have been approached some of the NGOs for their internship or anything like that. So as I am concerned, I had worked with many NGOs before coming into teaching. Like that is a place where you get exposure to the problems that the society is facing with. You are working at the grassroots level. I was a training coordinator in one of the NGO where, it was a very beautiful experience I have experienced in my life when I was associating myself with an NGO, because it is something you are relating yourself with the people. You are there to address their issues. You are there to understand the issue. You are there to give them constant, some kind of satisfaction, or some kind of hope that somebody is there for their redress or their problem, or listen to their problems as such. So there are other such terms which we talk about NGOs, like we consider as community-based organizations, non-profit organization, NPO, or the volunteer organization, which are frequently used to describe such organization. Okay. For instance, from these names, you can see that they take up community projects and they are voluntary and hence do not work for profit. Okay. There is you must be heard about many organizations, like we have this helping and organizations. We have these we have so many. One second.
Sir, Radhakrishna sir.
Hello.
Sir, Madam left in her tune, sir.
ఒకసారి నేను మేడంతో మాట్లాడతాను.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So, suppose we will utilize the word non-governmental organization, NGO, because the syllabus is all about that. And this has become a widely used term in India as well. Okay, we will go with the syllabus, what is there in the syllabus, accordingly we'll proceed. So whatever names you give to this organization, there are some elements that are common to the goal. One main element is that, in principle, they are not working for profit in a commercial sense, nor are they necessarily working for high salaries or selfish agendas. But NGOs will not be working for the benefit of a single individual, okay? Not for a family or a small group of individuals. They're normally concerned for the benefit of the whole community, okay? And that is why we see the words community, non-for-profit, and voluntary in terms you use to describe such organizations, okay? Now, definition of an NGO. What is the definition of an NGO? See, the World Bank has defined NGO. It says that an NGO are nothing but the private organizations that pursue activities that relieve suffering. Okay, first one is they do the activity that relieve suffering. They promote the interest of the poor. Second part. Third, they say that they protect the environment because we have various NGOs working for the protection of environment. Provide basic social services, or sometimes they also undertake some of the community development projects. Okay, this is according to the World Bank definition for an NGO. And there is also a definition given by UN definition that a non-government organization is a non-profit voluntary citizens group which is organized on a local level, national level, or international level. It is task-oriented and driven by people with a common interest. The NGOs perform a variety of services on a humanitarian ground, on humanitarian functions. Bring citizens' concerns to the governments. They do advocacy, monetary policies, and encourage political participation by information giving. And some are organized around specific issues such as human rights. Okay, some are concerned with health, some are concerned with environment, some are concerned with education, etc. So they provide analysis and expertise, serve as an early warning mechanism, and help monitor and implement international agreements. Okay, this is the definition given by United Nations system. Okay, in India, if we talk about the voluntary sector or a non-profit sector, is an all-embracing term, which includes organizations, societies, associations, trusts, and companies registered under various acts, such as Societies Registration Act and the Indian Trust Act. You remember this. In India, acts such as Societies Registration Act and the Indian Trust Act. And the new Government of Indian Employment Commission policy 2000 says that it defines them as organization engaged in public service based on ethical, cultural, social, economic, political, religious, spiritual, philanthropic, or scientific and technological considerations. Okay, so the policy specifies that NGO should have the following characteristics. What are the characteristics? First is they are private, that is, they're separate from government. Second, they do not return profit generated to their owners or directors. There is no profit motive over here. People, those are running the organization. Third, they are self-governing. There is not controlled by government. Fourth, they are registered organizations or informal groups with clearly defined aims and objectives. So you please remember these four characteristics of an NGO, or What should an NGO, if you want to start an NGO, what it should have? So there should be private, no profit generation, self-governing, and it should be registered with certain aims and goals. You should have an objective for that. So therefore, you can now identify an organization as a non-government organization, which is independent and government, independent from government, okay? Non-profit volunteer agency, which is organized on a local, national, and international level, and undertaking a wide variety of services and humanitarian interventions for the benefits of citizens and their communities. Fine. Now, does the government recognize the NGO? There's a big question mark, okay? See, while we use the term non-government, we do not imply that there is no relationship whatsoever we talk about. For instance, to start with an NGO, it should be a registered body, registered through the right government agency in a particular state. So there is some registration processes there. So there will be, therefore, under some restriction from the government, and you will read, I don't understand as we are going on with this, with the syllabus, like, for the other classes, what exactly NGO requires and what is the role of the government in that. So in order to fully understand the relationship of the NGO and the government, some historical background is required about how is it started and who are the people who initiated this process, etc. So although volunteer organizations have been working for centuries, the phrase non-government organization only came into popular use with the establishment of the United Nations organizations in 1945. And soon governments began to recognize the role played by such bodies in fulfilling the tasks that they were not able to accomplish. So as India has a rich tradition of social service and volunteer service agencies, after our country's independence, Mahatma Gandhi ji was known for his service activities and even called for dissolving the Indian National Congress, the political party which came into power upon independence, and transforming it into Lok Sevak Sangh, okay, public service organization. Although this was rejected, many Gandhian establishments volunteered to work closely with the government programs and social and economic issues. These agencies organized handicrafts and village industries, development programs, trade cooperatives, education institutions, etc. It was only around 1980 that the Indian government began to define the role of non-governmental organizations, volunteer organizations, or volunteer agencies, and recognize their importance. So when you look into this 5-year plan, you can look into the 6th 5-year plan, 1980 to 1985, identify new areas in the NGOs as new actors or the new, what you can say, stakeholders, we could say, would participate in development. And these areas included, like many areas were being identified in the 6th 5-year plan, where the NGOs can work upon. See, like, family welfare, health and nutrition, education, relevant community programs in the field, health for all programs, water management, soil conservation, social welfare programs of weaker sections, implementation of minimum needs program, disaster preparedness and management, promotion of ecology, environmental protection and education. And this was further followed by more attention to NGOs. And under the 7th 5-year plan, if you look into 1985-1990, the Indian government provided for a more active role for volunteer organizations. Okay, NGOs were called as to lead the rural areas into self-reliance, like how village and indigenous resources could be used, and how human resources, rural skills, and local knowledge may be utilized to could be used for their own development. Okay, NGOs, because of their interaction with the close interaction with the people, can be very effective in bringing change. Okay, the change was ensured the 6th 7th plan with the involvement of the NGOs in the development sector. So this advantage has been noticed by the Indian government, and in the 8th 5-year plan, if you look into, the importance of NGO further enhanced. Okay, where paying particular attention to the role of these agencies as participants in rural areas or rural appraisal for drawing up new development policies or plans, or a very low cost development in the rural community. So the plan document status, like, a nation-wide networks of NGOs will be created in order to facilitate the work of the network, three schemes like relating to the creation, duplication, multiplication, and consultancy development have been worked out by the Planning Commission. Today, if we look into, India has a vigorous NGO sector, although there have been no complete consensus of NGOs. It is estimated that about 25,000 to 30,000, or more than that as well, are active in India. In fact, as of December, if they have to take register with the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, and the Foreign Contribution Regulation, FCRA, it has come in the year 1976. Furthermore, 726 NGOs are unregistered, but under the prior permission category. If you look at Modi, after Modi coming into power, many NGOs were scrapped. Like, those who do not have FCRA, those who are not functioning, many NGOs were scrapped by the Modi government after it coming into power. Like, they were totally closed down. Okay, so NGO has to be properly registered. They should have a FCRA. Okay. And they should be, actively working at the grassroots level. Okay, so still it has also created structures that have been more bureaucratic in nature and hence less effective in development. Nevertheless, if we look into this, NGOs are here to stay and will continue to work in India on political, economical, and social issues. And the task before them is how they will manage to produce change, will keep track for governmental documentations. Okay? This is about the historical aspect of NGO. Hope you got it. Now, let us look at the kinds of NGOs functioning in India. Okay, hope you're getting me. Okay, there are different types of NGOs functioning in India, and there are various kinds of NGOs being categorized in different sections, which are some are concerned with social service, some are concerned with health, some are concerned with education, some are concerned with special services, etc. So there are various NGOs. One of the NGO which I would like to tell you is the first one is a grassroots organization. See, many small NGOs work directly with the community on the grassroots levels, and this could be dealing with education, health, mother and child issues, etc. And there are many Mahila Mandals or Bal bodies, etc., that will be working in a small way and receiving funds from the activities from government sources or through other charities. So such organizations do not necessarily need to be operating in villages or slums, as some will be working in middle-class housing communities. Like another one is another NGO, like it will be associated with the health and education. Like, we will club this together as most NGOs work in such fields of services, will have areas of overlap. And educational NGO will be working in literacy, adult education, or even an entire school for the poor. Okay, and they will have a wide range of activities. And but will primarily be concerned to educate the masses Yeah. The last percentage of NGOs funding from outside India goes to religious-based organization, while some look positive at religion or faith-based organizations. Others, like Bill Gates Foundation, will not give money to any organizations having a religious basis. A large number of NGOs in India have religious connections and operating effectively and efficiently. Okay, so these are the various types of organizations. Okay, so as I attempted to define NGOs and identify some other types of NGOs, you are now able to understand its characteristics, features, and types. Okay, now further, what are the working of an NGO? How does NGOs work out? How they work? See, NGOs demonstrate a sense of commitment. So they primarily work with the poor, and they are able to reach the remote areas of the grassroots level or to reach the needy. Okay, and they have the first-hand knowledge and information about the conditions of the people. Okay, and they are recognized for their innovative initiatives, and they depend on donors for their funding. Okay, all these things you must be knowing. Let us go into deeper aspect of this. For instance, like if I say NGOs demonstrate a sense of commitment, yes, it is very true. Most NGOs have started by commitment of an individual or group concerned to demonstrate this in action. For example, I want to start with an old age home. It is my concern. If I want to start a home for destitute, it is my concern. If I start with it, it's my commitment. Okay, how I could solve their problems, how I could ameliorate their problem. Okay, so many times they're not exposed but have a heart for helping. For instance, Cry Foundation, you must have heard about, was founded by 25-year airline pursuer and his 7 friends with only rupees 50 and a dining table. They chose not to be grassroots level implementing organization, working directly with children instead. Cry became a link between individuals who could provide us resources on the one hand, and the field workers were struggling to function for lack of funding. They identify people with similar commitment and strengthen their hands to accomplish the task. Okay, and you must be knowing many other organizations who are working for the commitment. Okay, and there should be a same kind of thinking process. The same bent of mind, same attitude to help the needy. Okay, all these things are required when you're working in a group as well. And as I said, that NGOs usually work with the poor. So there is a wide recognition by government and corporate bodies that NGOs have a significant role to play in working with the poor. And with the recent experiences, as I too have personally, we know that this is not just through giving aid, but in assisting the poor to break out of their condition of poverty. As you all know that, we talk about the empowerment of the poor, and here the role of NGOs become very important. And okay, it's commonly utilized to describe the key to the transformation of the livelihoods of these particular groups. Okay, and next is they reach out to the needy, they reach out to the poor, they're aware about the areas of need of the remote areas. So they are often able to reach sections of rural populations that government either neglect or do not target as a priority. Sadly, sometimes government agencies will claim to have conducted program in such remote areas, especially talk about the tribal areas. But there is a little to prove it. Okay, it is their commitment that takes them into remote rural areas to identify the poorest segments of the communities, identify those who face acute poverty. And these people, the NGOs, have the knowledge about all these local conditions. Most NGOs being grassroots level operation makes efforts to know as much as possible about the local people and their conditions. This is not just the socio-economic and the environmental condition of the area, but also the attitudes of the local people. They will also have some insight, unwritten accounts of the experiences of the individuals, their families, and the whole community as well. It is for this reason that, the Jawaharlal Urban Renewal Mission, which provides funds for the state governments to engage in slums clearance, are advising the involvement of NGOs as they know the local condition. So NGOs from the target area can help provide baseline data and all kinds of information to help give a good start to a project and avoid any major obstacles to development. NGOs, as I said, have innovative initiatives. As I said, most NGOs will take pride in the fact that they have innovative programs to tackle development problems and issues. But sometimes this may not be completely true. Okay, but NGOs have provided many novel ideas and models adapted in other settings and situations, like working with the women, working with the Dalits, tribals, and like routine government procedures and processes. NGOs, with their fairly flexible organizational structures, are able to experiment with new approaches. Okay. For instance, the integrated farming concept, which was started by an NGO in the Philippines, had gradually moved all over. And rather than having just a fish pound, the group designed an integrated approach where vegetation, gourds, ducks, fish, etc., were all grown and integrated with one another. So the greenery gave food to the goats, the dung provided manure, the goats freely roam around and swam in the ponds. The excreta provided feed for the fish, and overall an innovative model was successfully demonstrated in Philippines or in India. Okay, so NGOs depend on donors for their funding. So most NGOs will depend on donors unless they have been set up by their own founders. Fund provisions, many of the film stars are associated with the NGOs. They fund them in bringing up. If you talk about the Reliance, also are associated with the NGOs. Okay, many people. It's not that easy to get funds, that kind of information. Not everybody will give you funds. So some large companies are setting up their own NGOs operations by channelizing their corporate social responsibility, CSR, corporate social responsibility funds. And these are funds that the company seek aside in a show of commitment to the community. However, if you look at, by and large, the NGOs will seek various sources, including government grants, to obtain their funding. So this could be yeah. So this is one of the important aspects of NGO. Okay. I think, is that clear now? No, you should, these are the assessment questions I would like to give you, like what is an NGO? What is the role of donors for NGO? What is the sense of commitment in NGOs? Okay, types of NGOs. Hope you got it. Hello? Divya? Ramanjanelu?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Did you get it? Did you get it?
Yes, madam. We are audible, ma'am. Your voice is audible. We get it, ma'am.
Did you get it? What is an NGO? What are the types of NGOs? Did you get it, what I spoke?
Yes, ma'am. We get it, ma'am.
Anything, please feel free to ask me. I'm just going on talking. No interaction is going on. Okay. So working up NGOs, I spoke about the 5 points, 6 points, like how the NGOs work. So I think that is done. So you should be like, what is an NGO? Definition of NGO I spoke. I spoke about the characteristics of NGO, types of NGO, and the workings of NGO. Okay? Is that okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. So another part, I'll just talk about another part of this thing is, what is an NGO's environment? Like how the environment of NGO is all about. How does it exist? How it is all about? Who are the people who are working with it? Okay. What are the threats? Okay. NGO environment. See, as I said, that no organization operates in a vacuum. It derives its existence from the environment. And the formulation of organization strategies and the identification of its mission and purposes are largely governed by the top management views of environment opportunities and threats. So there are always threats as well. You just cannot say that, I want to start an NGO and I can be successful in that. It's not that easy to start an NGO, okay? Environmental threats and opportunities definition, if you look into environmental threat is a challenge posed by unfavorable trend or development in the environment that would lead in the absence of purposeful action or the erosion of the company's position. It's a threat, okay? An environmental opportunity, like in a company's environment opportunity, is an attractive area for company's action, in which, a particular company would enjoy a competitive advantage. A message which emerges from these definitions is that, the threats and the opportunity are the large extent function of a manager viewpoint and action. This is all about, an NGO we talk about, it has to have a relevant environment for its functionality. It could be a mega environment, it could be a micro environment, it could be a relevant environment, okay? So this is something which is, again, it has to have a technology. All these things are very, very important. The social environment, the economic environment, the political environment, So when I say micro environment, micro environment talks about the service providers, the intermediaries, service types. All these comes under the micro environment. Okay, and what are the how do you assess the impact of opportunities? So I'm not going to talk about details of this environment over here, but NGO's environment is very, very important. With all these things, the NGOs will not have legal aspect. These are missing. Legal is also very important when you're talking about an NGO as such. So everything should be considered when you are running an organization, if you want to set up an organization. So an organization operates in an external environment full of opportunities and threats. You see, from a firm's point, it is helpful to visualize the total environment comprising mega, micro, and relevant environments. So though the threats and opportunities of relevant environment are normally the major preoccupations of a firm, it is equally important to monitor the other two environments. There has been a continuous distillation from mega and micro environments as they have an impact on the relevant environment. Okay, so this is all about something, just what is the environment an NGO is functioning or NGO functions with. Okay, I'm not going into details of NGO's environment over here. I'll just talk about issues in NGO management. What are the issues that have been faced by an environment? What are the basic issues being faced by an NGO? With this, I will be closing. I won't go into detail because lots and lots of things I spoke here. We will be continuing in the other class, but I just begin with issues with an environment with an NGO.
Okay,
so that NGO is different to a normal profit-making company where all it needs is to be concerned about its production process and handling machines for profits to be made. It's not as simple, as this as there are a number of issues, as I said, threats and opportunities, issues as a commercial company may face or must have to face. But, the NGO faces some complex issues from the socio-economic and political environment outside as well as issues from within its own setup. It's not that easy to set up an organization. It's not easy to go with an organization, NGO. It's not that easy to, what are objectives or whatever goals you have in your mind to fulfill them. See, service is the hallmark of an NGO, as you all know, NGO's performance, and therefore it is normally where such services is needed that NGO will work. So the poor are normally the communities or the NGOs usually serve. So the challenges that poverty presents are daunting. And along with poverty are other factors that need to be understood in order to tackle the situation successfully. So there are a number of issues, and there are many helpful studies as well that have been undertaken, which we try to understand in the further units. Okay. So understanding, actually, you try to understand what exactly the issues are. See, for example, the social issues, or the legal issues, the financial issues, the environmental issues, other issues are growing increasingly complex. And it is the biggest challenge which has to be faced by an NGO to manage their organization while keeping their mission or whatever in focus. They frequently face issues that not only require practical management expertise, but also a knowledge and sensitivity to the context. Okay. You will be hearing such terms as, socio-economic or even socio-political factors and even environmental factors every time, because the sociologists we were using this term frequently. Our people live in such complex contexts, and it's important for an NGO to consider them. As you all know, that NGOs engaged in community development do not merely deal with people in the community. So there are numerous related factors as well. Local community dynamics must be studied. Legal and local government aspects should be followed. Environmental and socio-cultural issues must be taken into consideration. And now in recent years, there is a growing emphasis on human rights and gender issues. Okay, now everybody is looking at gender issues. Many are talking about human rights. Everything is spoken in terms of human rights. Okay, individual rights. So NGO leaders and teams, they need to have the knowledge and skills necessary to work amidst people, with the people, and among the people, encountering such varied forces in the field. So NGO managers must be able to, or NGO people working with NGOs must be able to understand this, the complex intertwining issues and frequently handle out of the ordinary decisions. It's not that easy, I'm telling you again and again. There is a crying need for various aspects of management knowledge and skills to handle the NGO's environment, while making decisions. Okay, the issues, the major issues, if I talk about, first is poverty and development. Second, aid and development. Third, dependency and sustainability. Fourth, development indicators. Okay, what is first one I said? Poverty and development, aid and development, dependency and sustainability, development indicators. Okay, this is very important. These are four aspects we have to keep it in mind. See, first one I can talk about aid to development, or aid and development we talk about. Most of what we know as social service, social service antamanam. We use this term social service when we talk about NGOs in the early days, was aid to help people in need. So there were feeding programs, grants of money for people in need, and other such charitable acts. In fact, these groups were some of the first NGOs we can say in India. So we cannot wholly dismiss such agencies, as there are times when there is need and the whole way to help. We give money or material to bring relief, but development is much more. But during COVID-19, if we talk about, that was been done. Okay, free services were given, charity was given, people were given services, people were given food, people were given material. Okay, see, gradually we saw the emergence of relief and welfare organizations. This became active during calamities and like tsunami, and many people gave small and large donations to help them. For example, when you talk about Bangladesh, had its first major cyclone in 1974, where many international organizations rushed in to help volunteers, brought food, clothing, money, and other materials to help the suffering. While this was good as much needed, it bred many ills that were hard to handle. For instance, soon there were corruption with some middlemen becoming rich and the poor not receiving what was rightfully meant for them. Clothing, milk powder, blankets, etc. was sold in the open market. There is also corruption going on. However, you will find that many of these organizations have moved much further today and involved in what is referred to as development. Like World Vision started by just helping poor and orphans, but today has gone to handle major development projects. They moved from mere relief to handling development. But what is the difference? Okay, as the word implies, relief is temporary effort through immediate interventions. Okay.
మ్యామ్ హలో.
Hello.
Ma'am.
It was
audible, ma'am.
I'm so sorry.
No issue, ma'am. Actually, ma'am, in my Dr. B.R. Ambedkar providing Telugu medium, ma'am. Actually, NGO. Yes, ma'am. Our subjects also in Telugu medium only. They will given in books, ma'am.
Okay, there is not English. It will not English.
వాయిస్ బ్రేక్ అవుతుంది మ్యామ్.
ఇంగ్లీష్ లో లేదా నాన్న? ఇంగ్లీష్ లో లేదా?
ఇంగ్లీష్ మీడియం లేదు మేడం, తెలుగు మీడియమే ఉంది మేడం. డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్.
నేనైతే నాకైతే ఇంగ్లీషే వచ్చు, తెలుగులో నేను ఎంత బాగా చెప్పలేను.
పర్లేదు మేడం. ఓకే, వీ అండర్స్టాండ్ మ్యామ్, నో ఇష్యూ.
ఓకే, నేను ఫిర్కి ఒక్కసారి కన్సర్న్ టీచర్ ఉంది, తెలుగు మీడియం చెప్పేటోళ్ళు కూడా ఉన్నారు కదా, అతను మాట్లాడి మీకు నేను చెప్పిస్తాను, సరేనా?
దాదాపు మేము అందరం తెలుగు మీడియమే పెట్టుకున్నాం మేడం మేము.
అవునా? ఓకే ఓకే ఫైన్. సరే, మళ్ళీ నేను వాళ్ళ కన్సర్న్ టీచర్స్ నేను చెప్తాను, చెప్పేసి మీకు నేను అప్రోచ్ అవుతాను. నాకేమో ఇంగ్లీష్ ఇచ్చారు, తెలుగు ఏమో ఇంగ్లీష్ ఏమో నాకు ఇచ్చారు, తెలుగు వేరే వాళ్ళకి ఇచ్చారు. నేను ఒకసారి కనుక్కొని మీకు నేను చెప్తాను, సరేనా?
ఓకే ఓకే మేడం, తెలుగులో చెప్పే ప్రయత్నం చేయండి మేడం.
నాకు తెలుగు అంతా నేను చెప్పలేను, సారీ. నేను కావాల్స్తే ఇదే క్లాస్ తెలుగు చెప్పే మేడం కి ఫార్వర్డ్ చేస్తాను. రేపు మీకు క్లాస్ ఉందా?
ఉంది మేడం, రేపు ఎల్లుండి ఉంది మేడం. యాక్చువల్ గా టోటల్ 16 క్లాసెస్ ఇచ్చారు మేడం. 16 క్లాసెస్ లో డిఫరెంట్ ఇచ్చారు మేడం డేట్స్.
అచ్చా.
yes మేడం, టుడే టుమారో డే ఆఫ్టర్ టుమారో ఉంది మేడం.
నేను ఏం చేస్తానంటే టుమారో డే ఆఫ్టర్ రేపు టైటిల్ నాకు మీరు ఏం చేయండి, నన్ను నంబర్ ఇస్తాను, నాకు టైటిల్ ఏమేమి ఉన్నాయి రేపు ఎల్లుండిది మీకు నేను తెలుగు మీడియం తెలుగులో చెప్పే మేడంకి నేను ఫార్వర్డ్ చేయిస్తాను. ఇట్స్ ఓకేనా?
షూర్ మేడం, షూర్ మేడం. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ మ్యామ్.
ఎస్ నాన్న. సో నేను ఏం చేస్తానంటే జస్ట్ మీరు ఎవరైనా ఇద్దట్లో మీ పేరేంటి, మీకు నా ఫోన్ నంబర్ ఏమో 891295.
ఒక్క నిమిషం మేడం, చెప్పండి మేడం. 8919. వాయిస్ బ్రేక్ అవుతుంది మేడం.
8919.
ఓకే.
29.
ఓకే.
5254.
5254. ఓకే మ్యామ్. నేను వాట్సాప్ చేస్తాను మేడం.
వాట్సాప్ చేయండి, టైం టేబుల్ ప్లస్ టాపిక్స్ నేను కన్సర్న్ మేడం ఫార్వర్డ్ చేస్తాను, సరేనా? మీకు మెటీరియల్ కూడా ప్రొవైడ్ చేస్తాం మేము, సరేనా? ఓకే దెన్ నేను ఇప్పుడు చెప్పి ఐ విల్ లీవ్ నౌ, ఓకేనా?
yes ma'am, thank you ma'am.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
thank you so much ma'am.
Bye.
Anjali sir మేడం ఇప్పటి దగ్గర మొత్తం చెప్పింది కాస్త అర్థం కానిది సార్ పరిస్థితి.
సార్ నేను మళ్ళీ కాల్ చేస్తాను లేండి. మేడం ఉన్నారు, మళ్ళీ లెఫ్ట్ అయినారు, మీరు కూడా లెఫ్ట్ అవ్వండి, బయటకు వచ్చినాక మనం మాట్లాడుకుందాం, కాల్ చేద్దాం.
ఓకే సార్.